Well, it's a pleasure to have the chairman, Congressman Paul Ryan, on the program. I know he's very, very busy. How are you, sir?
Hey, great one. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Let me tell you something. This blueprint you have out there, it is so important, and it is so wonderful. I mean, honestly, I can hear conservatives all over the country are very, very excited about this. We have something to push, and you know what? The Democrats are in a complete daze. They're, wow, this is this. All we're hearing are platitudes from these people.
You know, it's funny. We threw so many balls up in the air. I don't think they know which one to shoot at.
Yeah, well, they're going to shoot at all of them eventually, but I don't think they're going to do well.
We're already getting the shots. Well, look, nothing we're not used to.
Well, tell us the basics here. What is in this plan?
Okay, generally, this is a plan to re-limit government, to get back to economic freedom. It's a plan to get the government back to living within its means. And I guess of all the statistics I'll throw at you, the one I'm probably most happy about is we get the government back down to no more than a fifth of our economy, its historic level. It's up to 25%. It's up to a quarter of our economy. So we're taking 5% of the economy and giving it back to the private sector where it came from and where it belongs. To me, that's important because the path we are on right now that the president has us on has, by the time my three kids who are 6, 7, and 9 years old are my age, 40% of the private economy is consumed by the government. And then by the time my grandkids are running around this country, 60% of the economy goes to the government. And what this plan does is it gets us back down to 20%, and it goes down from there. And so it's about getting back toward limited government, economic freedom, generally. Now, that's the goal here. Okay, what do we do? First, we start by cutting $6.2 trillion out of the Obama budget over the next 10 years. We do $4.4 trillion deficit reduction. We prevent all those tax increases he's planned. We repeal and defund Obamacare. And there were a bunch of tax increases in Obamacare. Not a lot of people know that, but so we get rid of all those Obamacare. We get rid of Obamacare and all those tax increases. We make the tax cuts permanent, but we go one step farther. We reform the tax code to get to a simple system. I'm a flat tax fan. I know there's a bunch of fair tax fans. I've always been more of the flat tax guy.
I'll take either.
Yeah, exactly. So we go to a top rate of 25% for corporations and individuals. We drop this domestic discretionary spending, that's government agency spending, below 08 levels where we are right now, down to 06. We reduce the federal workforce by 10% over the next 3 years through an attrition policy. And we pay freeze. We do a freeze on pay for federal workers for 5 years. We go after corporate welfare. I call it crony capitalism. A lot of people are familiar with this as corporate welfare. We privatize Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Dodd-Frank, Barney Frank's bill, that has a huge slush fund at the FDIC. We get rid of that. We go after all this green pork. The president jammed through Congress the last 2 years all these subsidies for all this environmental technology that has no viability. We go after all of that stuff. Welfare reform. There were a lot of things we tried to get in welfare reform. I wasn't around here then, but in the 1990s, that didn't happen. Food stamps, housing assistance, Medicaid, so we do that. We block grant Medicaid to the states and give the governors the tools they need to reform that program. I got great letters from Chris Christie, Mitch Daniels, Scott Walker applauding this, asking for this so they can fix these problems in their states. Food stamps has grown fourfold in the last 5 or 6 years. What happens is states had this huge incentive to just assign everybody up to food stamps, and then that's it. They don't check to see whether people can go off of it. They don't have any incentive to make time limits. So we put time limits and work requirements on food stamps and housing assistance so we don't have a system where we're putting people into complacency, into becoming permanently dependent upon government. I'm very worried we're going to reach this tipping point in America where we have more takers than makers, and so we're trying to reverse that tipping point in this budget. Medicare reform. Medicare is the biggest driver of our debt. Medicare is really the big number driver. And so we propose to convert Medicare for 54 and below year olds to a premium support system, which is a system where you get a choice of plans to pick from that compete against each other for your business, and you have choice and competition. It works like the plan members of Congress and federal employees have.
Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
So over 54, whatever it is today.
Yes.
54 and under, I mean, what is the problem with this? Giving people choice, giving them options, they can pick different plans that they want. Why is that so controversial?
Because people believe that Medicare should be a government monopoly, that we ought to have Medicare for all, which is more or less what Obamacare. Actually, I think Obamacare, my personal opinion is it's going to be Medicaid for all, not Medicare for all. And if you believe in government-run health care, then you hate the idea of giving people choices and letting people pick in the marketplace among competing private sector insurers for your business. That breaks up a government monopoly in health care. And if you believe, if you use the word statist very effectively, if you're a statist, then you don't want the private sector involved in health care. You don't think insurance companies should exist. You want the government to run it and the government to design it and define it. And that's why if you go down this path that we're proposing, you're breaking up a government monopoly. And that's not good to people who don't like that.
So when Pelosi and these others say or will say that you're destroying health care for seniors, it's such a complete bald-faced lie.
Yeah, I mean, the path we're on destroys health care for seniors. Obamacare puts this IPAB, it's this board of unelected bureaucrats which are designed to ration health care. They design, they put the price controls on Medicare, and what the actuaries are telling us is, about 15 to 20% of these providers are just going to go out of business right away and just stop taking Medicare patients. And then this board is going to kick in to put more price controls. We get rid of all that, and we want to give people choices. Competition. Look, where it's been tried, it works really, really well. Where does the power go? That's the question. Does the power go to the patient, to the person, or does it go to the government? If it goes to the patient, if the person is in the nucleus of the healthcare system, then all the providers are competing against each other for your business. If the power goes to the government, then you're just hoping and praying that the government gives you a price formula that is good for you. And if you're a provider, you just hope that they give you a formula or a price control that you can live with. That is not how the market works. That's not how human nature works, and that is not how healthcare in this country should work.
Congressman, one of the things, this Congressman Paul Ryan, one of the things the left does and will do here, in addition to try and smear you, but you're going to have an infantry behind you. We're not going to let them just beat up on you by yourself.
I'm used to it.
Well, let me just ask you this. Let me just say this. One of the things that they do is they act like there will be no federal government if we do that. It's still a massive, expensive...
20% still pretty big, I think.
Right? It's still big. Still has trillions of dollars to mess with, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they make it so Pelosi's up there today. She couldn't figure out if it's 6 million or 3 million senior citizens won't be getting meals anymore. My attitude is, okay, let's feed them. Now cut another trillion.
Yeah.
In other words, it's fun. It's like when they cut local budgets, the cops first.
Yeah.
Well, no, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. That happens at home a lot. So the deal is this: we have a debt crisis coming in this country. I mean, that's not really a debatable point. So the question is, are we going to preempt it and get this thing taken care of? What this budget does, and it's been scored by the Congressional Budget Office, this pays off the national debt. Now, mind you, it takes time to do that. But the debt peaks in 2014 under our budget, and then it goes downhill from there as a percentage of our economy. So as the debt grows and takes up more and more of our economy, it threatens our economy more. Under the Obama budget, the debt goes to over 100% of our economy. After the Obama budget window, meaning in the 11th year, it just takes off. And by the time my 3 kids are my age, the debt is 200 to 300% the size of the economy. I asked the Congressional Budget Office to run their computers forecasting the American economy out into the future. The computer crashes in 2037. The program can't conceive of a way in which the U.S. economy can continue past the year 2037 because of the debt burdens that are being placed upon the economy. We're preempting that. We're preventing that debt from happening, and we're getting this debt fully paid off so that we give our children a debt-free country. Every generation in America has sacrificed, has met the moment, whether it was world wars or depressions or whatever, to make the next generation better off. We are at risk of being the first generation to sever that legacy. And if you go down the Obama budget path, if you do what Nancy Pelosi says we should do, then we're accelerating ourselves toward a debt crisis. And when we get into a debt crisis, then it's European austerity. Then it's cuts for everybody indiscriminately. Then it's raising taxes to prevent the bond markets from shutting down and inflation from getting out of control. We want to preempt that from happening. We don't want that to happen. We want prosperity. We want economic growth, economic freedom. And we get that by having a limited government, getting government back to living within its means, stopping the practice of spending money we don't have, and getting spending under control, and therefore getting this debt under control. And that's basically the plan here.
And I think the American people, when they hear this, which means you all saying it and others of us over and over and over again, I think they're going to be persuaded. I think the problem we have with the hard left, like those we have to deal with in Congress, is they're not responding to facts and knowledge and evidence. They are advancing an ideology. So no matter what you say, no matter what numbers you put in front of them,
that's exactly right.
It doesn't matter to them, does it?
No, that's exactly. I mean, that's just another day in Congress around here. So the deal is this: the question is will their demagoguery, their scare tactics, succeed? And that means will they be able to drown us out in this conversation with the country? And my argument to my caucus is, I had this roadmap plan out there, and I had 13 co-sponsors on it. Well, these numbers are better than the roadmap. This is going to have the Republican caucus behind it. So we have 243 people in our caucus. It's better to get this out into the country if 243 of us are out there talking to our constituents about it, doing our town hall meetings, than 13 of us. And so the point I'm trying to make is we can get through their demagoguery. They're going to try and scare seniors. This doesn't affect seniors, but they're going to try and scare seniors through demagoguery and through distortion. But if we all go out there and talk to people like adults, if we tell people the truth and the facts about the situation in this country and what we're trying to do to fix it, I think we're going to be fine. And that means we will give the country a choice. In 2012, the parties muddle the differences too much. And the last Republican majority messed up, and we screwed up, and we just went native. And so we have to accentuate our differences so that the country is given the option or the opportunity of at least choosing what path they want this country to be going down for the next century, but in the next election. And the way I look at this is we are offering here an opportunity society with a safety net, a limited government, true to its founding, true to our founding principles, and then the other option is the Obama plan. And at least we can give them this choice so this country, which is a center-right country, can pick. And I believe the sooner we do that, the better off we are, and the more likely they'll pick the right choice. If we keep going down the tipping point, kick the can down the road, not offer choices, we're afraid of the demagoguery, then more and more people become takers and not makers, and we might lose that referendum down the road. So I think we'll win it if we go now, and that's why I want to go now.
Well, let me say this. Well, I got to go, but you've been extremely gracious in coming on the program. I am a believer. I think what you've done here is spectacular. I worked in the 76 and 80 Reagan campaigns. I was in the Reagan administration 8 years.
Wow,
this reminds me of that. This is very, very important, Congressman. Great job, and I look forward to continuing to support this effort.
Hey, Mark, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, God bless you.